guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the dreaded return, Reese.
Hello.
So, Paul, what have you been up to this week?
Obviously, we had a local pop event on Saturday. That
Yeah.
was good fun. So I was obviously playing in that. I'd been messing about with a Pazzi's like Cascade Walls list on Magic Online. So I ran that through a few leagues and then ran it at the local event as well. It's a pretty cool deck, to be honest. It's very powerful. It looks a bit odd, but it's like ridiculously powerful once it gets its engine going underneath it. I guess my only comment that I found it a bit awkward was against like other combo decks that you couldn't kill fast enough. Like Ultratron was a particular one where I basically had no game. Because they basically got a Fengrin out, gained 1,000,000 life, and then I had no interaction. I went to time on killing him because he had too much life, but I had to essentially to remove the Fengrin, go through the dungeon to the gourd, and then gourd the Fengrin to attack it into my guy. But it was fun. It was a fun day and a good event, and a good list. What about yourself?
Yeah, just basically expand on that, I guess, because we've done pretty similar things this week. Obviously, we had the Pauper event or a local event. Commander Masters cards were legal, which was cool. So I got to play Jeskai Affinity, but with all that glitters. That card definitely is scary sometimes. You just basically sometimes you can just splurge onto the board. I'd say Jeskai's a bit slower at that than obviously like the likes of some of these Esper builds that are knocking around. But yeah, definitely scary to see how quickly an artifact based deck can utilize that sort of effect. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that changes with all the brew and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few Esper lists. Obviously, I went through your Jeskai one, but the Esper ones look nuts.
Yeah,
they look so broken.
Especially for like an all that glitters deck, like Esper's probably the place to be. Like it's obviously got a lot more potential to just go onto the board and just jamming all that glitters onto something very, very quickly and very, very large as well. So yeah, but anyways, on to some news, I guess. It's not that exciting, but it's kind of touch on it anyways. So last weekend, the Friday, was the first weekend that Commander Masters was legal in paper. So we have seen some events, some deck lists of Commander Masters, mainly all that glitters. We've seen the odd like Murmur and Mystic piles that people are brewing, waiting for them on Magic Online. But tournament-wise, it seems to be mainly all that glitters. And a little bit of the Serpent, I think I've seen.
Yeah, I think that all the glitters was the easiest. Like, just, this is powerful, I'm going to play this card. Yeah. Whereas the other stuff, they probably are, like, in comparison to power level, but a lot harder to pull the whole deck together around them. On that, the first week of Commander Masters being legal in paper, I was surprised by how difficult it was to find that information out. Like, it ended up loads of pauper grinders basically asking Gavin on Twitter, is this legal or not? Because it's not clear. Which was a bit of a weird situation. I would have thought like the sort of whole Commander Masters release article would just be like, right, it's now legal in these formats on this date, but it didn't.
I think it's just a really strange, I want to say niche scenario, but it's niche in terms of it probably comes up with general Masters sets, or will come more apparent with Masters sets, is that Commander Masters generally doesn't really affect that much in terms of like Eternal formats or whatever. It basically is just Pauper. And then because of that, then they didn't have a pre-release, so then that made it even less clear. Where obviously if they changed the name of that WPN event to pre-release, there would be no question. Yeah. It's just, okay, it's legal.
It was sort of a pre-release, but you had to be at a certain level of store to get that pre-release. Not everyone got the pre-release, only some people did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very unclear. Obviously, we eventually got an answer
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have that answer from the start.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully that they think about that moving forward, especially in like terms of Masters sets, because that's kind of the only thing that really affects.
I suppose even for like commander events, though, like if you're at a commander event, that's affected in the same way. If there's a commander event on Friday, like
Yeah,
or
true.
a CEDH event type thing.
Yeah, very true.
Even I guess for Legacy, like this Commander Masters has new cards in. It's not a not a fully remastered set because of the EDH decks.
I think though, basically, because the way the WPN works, those cards aren't legal on the same time the Pauper Downshifts are legal. Because the because the WPN Premier event is only the box, the release of
the new cards aren't legal.
Yeah, right. So the actual new cards aren't out yet, so they're not legal. Yeah, so
that's even more confusing.
So, but yeah, so it's definitely not the. Hopefully, they think about this moving forward, and then they kind of look at adjusting like the way they market, how they take these things out, and make it more clear. But anyways, so let's be excited, I guess, for MTGO next week. I guess obviously Commander Masters being resolved this week. I guess.
Hopefully, get some spicy challenge results to look at.
So speaking of challenges, I guess let's move on to the Saturday challenge, the last challenge before Commander Masters.
Yeah, last two, Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday the 29th. It was sort of a trip back, I would have thought, for a challenge-wise, to before Terra. A bit of an odd one. So first place we had Pingerburn. Second place was Jeskai Ephemerate. Third and fourth was Affinity and Ponza making a comeback. And then fifth through eighth, there was a Kuldotha Red, a Monoblue Fair, a Jund Ponza, and then another Kuldotha. And then the near misses, there was a Affinity in 9th place and a blue-white like Colgate in 10th place. So no Terra after 3 weeks straight of 2+ Terras in every challenge top 8. No Terra even in the top 10. I think the closest one I seen was the blue-red Terra in 16th. So massively off the pace from like the last 3 weeks, I'm going to say off the top of my head.
I wonder what changed. I wonder if people stop. I would like to see the percentage of how much it was brought to the event, and then also again how much of that transition. Obviously, as you say, the 16th place was the only Terra, well, the first Terra for blue red. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of transitions. Maybe people went off it, like they just stopped playing it, or I can't see what meta wise. I can't really see what's changed. Like all these decks.
Yes. So in the top 32, there was actually only 3 Terra decks, and they were all blue-red Terra. 16th, 26th, and 29th. So just no blue-black Terra in the full top 32, which is, very, very odd considering the results we've had for the last few weeks. And it's not as if, like, the decks that we are seeing, obviously, in this top 10, I guess apart from really the Monoblue Fair and the Jund Ponza, which are a bit outlierish, but the rest of them are all decks that have been in top 8 with Terra and alongside Terra. So I'm not really sure what happened there.
No, I think it's probably just an outlier. Overall, is the only thing I can really think of. Either an outlier in terms of people not bringing it, and maybe trying the new blue-red spice, like the blue-red Terra, and then I think maybe looking at the blue-red Terra, I think it's probably more. It's a lot better positioned against beaten Terra. So then maybe if there was a downtrend, it struggled against the mix of decks, and that's why the only really seeing blue-red it was the most deck. But I'd say I don't know the percentages or anything, but it does seem very strange.
Yeah, it's a very odd one. My final comment on this top 10 is Ponza coming back to a top 8. Obviously, it's still been pretty heavily represented in almost every challenge we look at, but it hasn't done well in quite a while. I don't know if that's maybe got something to do with the lack of blue-red Terra this week meant 2 Ponzas could sneak into the top 8, but it's back scoring points.
I think Ponza's a big one that it does what it does really well, but it sometimes struggles to its own deck to finish out a game as well. I think Ents obviously give it that bit more consistency for sure. It's allowed it to basically, do what it needs to do, get the threats out, run a lower land count while still hitting its land drops, and still Ponza people out. But it's definitely still a deck that, you could lose a game based on casting a Borden Party and hitting an Arbor Elf. So maybe it's just eventually, it has, as you say, it has been represented over the previous weeks. It's just missed on that kind of top 8,
version.
top kind of, and converting. So maybe it's just finally found its way in. I guess my big thing from this top 8 is, just for those doubters out there, the snap bolt effect is real. That is the one big thing that I do want to mention. So, for those people that don't know, people think there's this effect called the snap bolt effect, that when snap bolt tweets a deck, streams a deck, records with a deck, you see it everywhere in leagues. And I'm a big believer that this existed, and this Jund Ponza being here is proof in the pudding that it is everywhere, and it managed to convert into a top 8 in the challenge. Yeah. That is the one big thing I take away. Because I have watched Snapbolt's YouTube video that came live, and then literally you're playing leagues and you'll verse 2 of the deck that he's playing, and he's playing like something out there like Jund Gardens or something that's obviously not meta or whatever.
Yeah.
So it definitely does exist, and it's great to see that people obviously want to build these good versions of decks that obviously he's put together, and Jund Ponza is definitely a cool one. You might as well take advantage of having 8 ends basically. And not really at a cost of much, to be honest, either. It looks like a sweet list.
Yeah, obviously the only things that really make it Jund, there's 4 trolls of Khazad-dûm that find 1 swamp and 1 woodland chasm. And they essentially enable 2 snuff outs.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the black portion of the deck with a Singleton Chainer's Edict in the board, just in case. But I think, obviously Troll's a good threat on its own. If you're casting out Altasaur cascading into Troll, like a Reach Trample 6/5 and a 6/5 that can't be blocked, like must be blocked by 3 creatures is pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say, well, Ents definitely provided the deck with that consistency in terms of threat to mana ratio, because the deck sometimes has that issue getting into the mana into the late game and stuff like that. And Ents definitely help with that. And I think adding an extra Ent effectively is kind of definitely pretty good. And you're playing 2 of the best removal spells at the same time too.
Yeah. I guess it's surprising that the Mumakil has not really caught on as much. The red cycle.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's more relevant, I would say, and it would fetch the same number of targets as the troll is in this list. But you don't really gain any extra from it other than it's a okay threat. Like, it's not as good as the End.
Yeah, you don't get like snuff out or
but
it's definitely interesting to see. Like, obviously you've still got the normal Acid Moss Thermocast combos and combos like part of the deck, so you're not really losing much.
No, it's still essentially just Ponza. You lose some Screds.
And
is
I think it's Jewel Thieves and a land.
Ah, right, okay. Which the land is sort of covered by the extra 4 trolls.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Pretty sweet deck.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet take on it. And I guess my other thing to note is Kuldotha being the red deck of choice. That seems to be, it kind of flitters in and out which one it is. But last few weeks we've kind of seen that mono red 1-drops do well, but that's only the one pilot carrying a lot of it.
I guess Pingerburn was the victor of the top 8. Pingerburn went home with the win, but 2 Kuldothas making it in. I think Mono Red's in a spot where pretty much all the red decks are just good enough.
Yeah.
I think more depends on how you play than actually how good the deck is.
Yeah.
I think if you can play more controlling game, just play Pingerburn. If you can play the better aggro game, play Kuldotha.
Yeah.
If you can really play a better aggro game, play the 1-drop list. Obviously Mono Red's still good, still easily tier 1 deck.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet one.
Do you want to look at the deep dive?
Yeah, I can look at the deep dive.
So for this, for the Saturday, I think we chose the 25th place deck, which was a Cascade Walls list.
Yeah.
Similar to what I was playing this weekend. I guess the notable differences is mainly the inclusion of two Elven Farsight.
Yeah.
Which is a new card from Lord of the Rings. Well, I say new. Commander Masters, I guess, is now the new card.
Yeah.
A new-ish card from Lord of the Rings, which is a green mana sorcery. You scry 3, reveal top card of your library. If it's a creature, draw a card. I sort of like the idea in this deck. Like, it's super creature heavy. Like, it nearly runs 40 creatures. So you're gonna hit pretty much every time. And if it means your turn 1/1 keeps are a lot more capable, because you can play this, find the second land, put a creature on top of it, draw your creature, then draw your land. No, you've got a land coming. I'm not sure if that's better than. I guess it's probably not better than more Ents, but you can't play more Ents.
Yeah, it is a strange one because obviously, like, this deck needs to have its lands untapped, so it's not like Ponza or these other decks where they can run like a jewel and Ent, or run an Ent and a troll, or an Ent and an Oliphant, and then like have these lands coming in tapped are brutal.
Yeah.
Especially any point later on in the game where you need to have multiple Quirion Ranger activations, like you end up having to bounce your last land, which is a jewel land. You kind of it sets you back so much. So yeah, I think you would literally need a reprint event, but not be called Ent. Basically,
it's obviously you've got one mountain, but I don't think one mountain's enough to justify the Mumakil, and then you're very often playing 2 1-drop green spells on turn 2. So yeah, it's an interesting way to sort of try and solve that problem and try and use this card. Given the deck does run 4 Lead the Stampede and 4 Wind Away, I'm not 100% convinced that you want to be running more non-creature, non-land spells. But it is interesting. It sort of feels like a deck that it could run well in.
Yeah, as you say, it runs 40 creatures. It helps you get up a second land early game, and later on in the game, it can also help set up Cascades too.
Yeah, and finds your Cascade guy and sets up the 2 cards below.
Yeah,
which is pretty powerful. To be fair, I never thought about that.
So it is a pretty interesting one, and it's fairly close, like a green preordain inverted commas. This is kind of as close as you're gonna get to it with, as you say, with like 40 odd creatures, almost.
Yeah.
Definitely a spicy one.
Another interesting thing from this list was in the sideboard. Something which I'd never really thought of till I seen it here. And then I thought it's actually quite a good idea. Is Wickerborough Elder, which is a 3 and a green for a 4/4 tree folk. It enters with a -1/-1 counter on it, so it enters as a 3/3, and you can pay green and remove the counter to destroy an artifact or enchantment. So it's just a decent guy that you can find off your Lead the Stampede, your Wind and Ways, your Elven Farsights, that gives you some interaction. Like you can play it, blow up a Mirror Enforcer, trade with a second Mirror Enforcer, or like any other things, blow up fucking Circle of Protections. If someone's running Circle of Protection greens and locking you out the game. Very interesting choice that sort of seen playing Pauper a long time ago, but I haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet one. For sure. A deck like this that can produce so much mana, it might as well run it. It's a lot better options than other creatures that remove enchantments. Like Guardian Naga means you have to go into another colour. Mass Vandal means you have to be later on and have creatures die to do that. So it's definitely probably the better option that you have access to, and it's, as you say, it's just a good body, and it's a deck that just wants to swing in. So there's no, you can easily just play it, blow something up, hit for 4 with your Tuk Rubble 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a sweet one, for sure.
But yeah, cool to see Cascade Walls doing decently. And an interesting take on it, trying the Elven Farsight out, seeing how they go, and trying the Wickerborough Elders in the sideboard.
Yeah, definitely a sweet one. Would you like to move on to Sunday?
Yeah. So Sunday the 30th of July, which is the last challenge before the Commander Masters cards. And it was a spicy challenge. First place was Kiln Fiend. Second place was Blue Black Terror making a return. Third and fourth was a Kuldotha deck and a Green Black Reanimator. And then fifth through eighth was Green Red Ponza, Affinity, another Blue Black Terror, and a Poison Storm. And then the two near misses, there was another Kuldotha and a Boros Synth.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this talk. I feel like I basically have wrote down here, I am like a kid in a sweet shop, because there is definitely so many things that you want to pick apart about this top 8. But I guess we start from the top. So Kiln Fiend, taking the win.
Coming back as well, it was obviously, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before we seen a Kiln Fiend in the top 8.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago,
It was something where I think we commented that the more combo decks, which I would sort of class Kiln Fiend as, can do well in this sort of meta that we have at the moment. And I think this top 8 in particular is a real good show of that with Kiln Fiend, Reanimator, and Poison Storm.
Yep.
There is room for fringe decks to just crush the field and win.
Yeah, like, to me, obviously Kiln Fiend kind of preys on those kind of terror decks with few removal spells. Like, obviously they've got 4 Snuff Outs main, and
usually
you just need that one protection spell, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of prey on those decks, and then other combo decks like Poison Storm prey on those mid-rangey decks like Terror, and to an even extent decks that don't really interact with them very well with removal spells like Gardens and things like that. So, it's definitely, there definitely is space for these, as you said, like these sort of decks. So it's pretty cool to see. I guess the next thing to touch on is Blue Black Terror making a return. 2 of them.
Yeah. It wasn't gone for very long.
I think the more I think about it, the more I think it is probably just an outlier for the Saturday.
Yeah, for the Saturday, yeah, I would agree.
I don't understand why. I don't know why. I couldn't possibly tell you. But it's still a solid deck. It can fight through the Relic hates, the Chainers hates, all that sort of stuff that the mind collapses or whatever, or that people bring. All that sort of stuff. So it can definitely fight through these. So as it's shown over the past 3 to 4 weeks that we've been doing, that we've covered the terror reign of Supreme that it's been going on. So I'm not shocked that it's back so quickly, and I can just more think that, as I said, the Saturday was definitely an outlier.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess we'll touch on Ponza. Touch on Ponza making not only a return once this weekend, but twice.
Yeah, double top 8. Well, triple top 8, I guess, if you include the Jund.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet one to see. I don't think there was anything particularly out there about any of these lists. All pretty standard. Obviously, by the Jund list being, Jund. And
even the Kiln Fiend deck was sort of a pretty stock Kiln Fiend list. Poison Storm, I'm assuming you're going to get onto is what I would class as fairly stock Poison Storm.
Yeah, it's very pre-Lord of the Rings stock as well, which also surprised me. No Lorien revealed, which I expected.
No, just with compulsive research and sort of that slot. As an extra draw spell, I guess.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one. 2 snaps in the side, I guess, is one thing that I'm seeing. But yeah, pretty sweet. I like Poison Storm, especially in the Terror heavy meta, because you just get access to Moments Piece in the side.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a sweet deck to just keep that, and obviously you can just weather the storm your way out of dying, and then just eventually kill them. It's a pretty sweet one. It's nice to actually show that it can perform well in these sort of heavy meta games. Affinity's still here. Kuldotha's still here. They're not going anywhere. There wasn't anything exciting about these lists either. So
yeah, the fairly stock Affinity and Kuldotha list. I think it shows how odd the Saturday was with the lack of Terror, because most weeks now we just expect a mono red, a Terror, and an Affinity at least to make up 3 decks out of the top 8. They are sort of the elite tier of Pauper decks at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, not surprising to see them in basically both top 8s, other than the lack of Terror. But yeah, a really good Sunday for combo decks.
Definitely.
Something I guess was sort of a little missing from the Saturday I don't even know where the closest thing I would class as combo on Saturday was. It was pretty far down. But maybe that was just, yeah, as you say, with the Terror, just a bit of an outlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the combo play style, there's definitely space for it at the moment in Pauper.
Yeah, and there's quite a lot as well. There's quite a lot out there, and they're all pretty viable. Obviously, you've got FAMs, you've got Mogwart or Goblin Combo, you've got, Kiln Fiend that we've obviously seen here, Poison Storm, Reanimator if you're classing that as combo as well. There's definitely a lot of space for all of these different types of combo decks and all to do really well. We're just missing the tribe. We need a Tireless Tribe to come back.
And then I think my last comment on this top 8, I guess, is just a really good weekend for Swiftspear players.
Yeah.
Over both top 8s, really. I think there was 12 copies of Swiftspear in each top 8. So 24 overall, not including the extra 9th place on the Sunday. So yeah, just Swiftspear is still probably one of the best cards, if not the best card in Pauper.
Yeah. It's definitely the best creature, that is for sure.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Probably true.
But yeah, there's nothing else I really want to add. Obviously, we've brushed past, I guess we'll go into our deep dive.
Yeah.
So we've brushed past, obviously, the green-black Reanimator, which, let's be honest, was never going to happen on this. Let's be honest. It is obviously our deep dive deck for the Sunday. And it's a sweet one by, obviously, nonetheless, the GOAT, that is Weber. He decides to like to show that he could honestly come to Pauper challenges with a ham sandwich and do really well. The guy just likes to brew, and the guy always performs.
Yeah, I think it is a really good one to show there is still brewing space. Like we were saying about Swiftspear being pretty dominant in those top 8s, but there's still brewing space in Pauper, and those brewed decks can still just like top 8 a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, the thing that I do like about this deck is there is it does show that there is brewing space, but also shows the issues with the brewing space that we have nowadays in today's Pauper meta than what we previously had. Where a lot of this, if you look at this deck, it's got 2 very powerful engines that people know are powerful, which is the Troll Exhume kind of engine that's kind of just come about since Lord of the Rings, and then you've got the like Ponza Shell, the Arbor Elves, the Utopia Sprawls, all that sort of stuff. And it kind of shows that, yes, this is a brew. It is a very good brew. Like, it's a great way of having this green-black ramp Reanimator deck. Like, using, obviously, the Ponza Shell to ramp them out, or just literally, here you go, here's my turn 2 troll. Like, great way of showing these powerful engines. But obviously, generally, the brews nowadays in Pauper are very much bound by a shell. Most of them, like you'll see nowadays, like Gardens would be the one before this one I'd probably think of, would be like the Breakout Shell. It was basically a Deadly Dispute draw engine shell attached with some control parts. So and don't get me wrong, there is still brewing space, and I'm not disagreeing with anything. Like, that is great, and I do love this brew. But I do think you have to pick a lane in what you want, what sort of shell you want to go down, and then brew around that one of those shells. Or 2, if you want to jam them together.
Yeah, I think it does do a good job of sort of displaying that point, as it is essentially like the best green cards in Pauper which is essentially the Ponza Shell, which is for Arbor Elf, for Llanowar Visionary, for Ents, for Utopia Sprawls. Like, if you have that core to build around, you're already starting from a powerful place.
Yeah.
I guess it's a shame that sort of that is, I guess, Avenging Hunter should probably be in that mention as well.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what green just feels like at the moment, is distilled down to 16 cards.
Yeah.
If you're playing green, you're probably playing Utopia Sprawl, Avenging Hunter, Arbor Elf, Llanowar Elf, or Generous Ent, or some combination of all of those. There doesn't really seem to be that much space in green outside of that, which is a shame. But yeah, a really strong core, and then added to it with the Troll Exhume engine.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the potential of Ent or Troll on turn 1 into Exhume, which is a very real threat. The black gives you the access to Snuff Out and Cast Down, which is obviously pretty much the best removal in the format. and then the rest of your game is, oh well, you've got the ramp plan, so you're just going to cast Annoyed Allosaurs or Avenging Hunters and win like Ponza.
It's good to also see as well, like, you lose Borden Pie, obviously running the green-black, but the fact that you've gained Troll, you've got Troll, you had Ent, and you had Avenging Hunter, you basically make the Annoyed Allosaur a lot better, to me, in the sense, like, Borden Pie is a fine threat, but it's not really the strong... The cascade into something huge is the big pull to me for Borden Pie, because obviously Annoyed Allosaur is actually a good body and a good card in the sense where Borden Pie does get outclassed very, very easily.
Yeah, I think obviously the upside to the Borden Pie is the high roll of you can Allosaur into Borden Pie into something else.
Yeah.
Whereas Allosaur just more consistently hitting a 6-5 or a 5-7 is probably just like better for the for you. You don't get the turns where you just like cast, like if you cast a Troll, you've got a 6-5 that's hard to block, or if you cast an Ent, you've got a 5-7 that can stop the flyers and gives you a bit of food. But you can cast a Borden Party in Ponza and then just cascade into an Arbor Elf, and your Borden Party gets bolted and you've sort of done nothing.
Yeah. You paid 6 mana for an Arbor Elf and then discard a card.
I think obviously the other add to that is the addition of the Snuff Outs, the Cast Downs, and the Chainer's Edicts is a good chunk of removal. Obviously, Skred is really good at the moment. But again, Snuff Out's probably the best removal spell in Pauper.
Yeah, definitely.
By quite a long way. So it's nice to be able to add that.
Another thing as well you could also add is effectively you've replaced the Borden Pie with the Troll, which obviously helps with your mana too, and also replaces it with a black creature, which then makes other people's Snuff Outs a lot worse.
Yeah.
So if
the black creature, that's pretty hard for Terra to deal with.
Yeah.
Like once it's resolved, like they're not blocking it, they're not removing it.
Yeah. So if you can get that down early, it's definitely a good way to just steal a game, especially from Terra. So it's a pretty nice deck and a nice way to show that there is brewing space, but it's a different type of brewing that we've seen. Obviously, you can't just, I'm going to rock up with my, I don't even know, Bears deck.
Wolves deck.
Do you know what I mean? It's not that type of space anymore, which is fine. Like, I personally like this because it's kind of a way of, you're not doing the hard work as much because there's all these established different engines and cores to decks. Like Core Skyfisher, Experimental Synthesizer, again, another good engine that you can just add on to. Or Gardens, Deadly Dispute, another good engine. Utopia Sprawl, Arbor, all that sort of stuff. These are all great engines to just add on to. We already know they're great. They've been tested over time for the past 3 odd years. And this is just a great space to show that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this deck is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, definitely. And again, as we've mentioned, it shows that Weber just knows the format, he knows these engines, and he knows how to attack these metagames pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's very clear that this deck is aiming for Terra.
Yep.
Which just shows his knowledge on the format. He's been able to build it in such a way where you still have the powerful players against most other decks, but your powerful players are also just really good against Terra.
Agreed.
Even the addition of Chainers and Cast Downs in the main, as opposed to just relying on Snuff Outs. Yeah,
definitely. And it's great to see. I guess that moves us perfectly out of shout outs, I guess. Weber, obviously great to see him brewing this. And also we had Hyson as well, who was 11th place on Saturday. But Hyson doing a great job, but come on. Produce the spicier lists. You had it going good, and then you rocked really well with this Jeskai Ephemerate deck, and you just got to play it to death. Come on, Weber, get him to brew a bit more, get some spicier stuff going. Come on, we can't keep shouting you out every week, and then you rock up with Jeskai Ephemerate every week. Come on, but that is those are the two main shout outs. Obviously, the challenges, and one thing I guess just want to add is shout out to Fire Shoes. I think it is obviously. Great on Twitter, great presence on Twitter, and very well known for sharing and retweeting all sorts of different tournaments, deck lists, leagues, results, everything. He's the place to go on Twitter, obviously, for anything. He does amazing work for the community, and he has followed the channel, which is great. So hopefully, I just thank him for obviously the exposure that he's ultimately give us just by following us and obviously retweeting anything. So I really appreciate it. And moving on, I guess, from that, finally the hot takes, I guess.
Yeah, hot takes from last week.
Yeah.
My Pauper format panel will eventually comment hot take is not going too well.
No.
I'm pretty sure they're there because we can see Heisen and Weber playing. But yeah, I'm assuming at this point there's that little time between Lord of the Rings and Commander Masters. They're just going to let Commander Masters play out for a couple of weeks, and then hopefully comment.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That it was quite short.
Remains to be seen.
It was quite a short distance between them, wasn't it? It wasn't like a month or less than a month.
It feels short.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with how much change they've both. Well, we're waiting to see what Commander Masters will do, but how much change Lord of the Rings has brought, and I assume how much change Commander Masters is going to bring as well.
I guess my hot take, weird, of course it had an outlier the week that I talked about it, but Terra will dominate last week leading into Commander Masters. That was not the case. Obviously Saturday it was nowhere to be seen. I didn't even write blue-black Terra either. I was like, Joe, this is free. This is free real estate, this hot take. And it just full-blown was, absolutely nowhere to be seen. Did well on Sunday, but not as close to what we've seen in previous weeks. It was just the odd one or two here and there.
Yeah, two in the top eight still obviously very good, but yeah, it's a lot less than what we've seen previous weeks.
Yeah. So.
My second one was that Skred will become a key tool again in decks at the top of the metagame. It's sort of starting to hedge that way. Obviously, Pons are coming back and doing well. Jeskai Ephemerate doing well on the Saturday. It's sort of leaning that way. There's, I guess, the blue-red Terra deck coming up will help that as well. It's obviously the best removal spell in that deck, but I don't think we're there yet. I think there will be more Skred decks, or more decks trying to utilize Skred.
I also think that might even follow on, obviously, with Commander Masters, with obviously Cryptic Serpent maybe helping blue-red Terra.
Yeah.
Also potentially things like Murmur Mystic or even Wind Rider Wizard potentially helping like a blue-red control-y tempo-y deck too.
Yeah,
but again, these are just spitball ideas that I've seen knocked about. So it'll be interesting to see if Skred moves forward, how that goes forward, goes moving forward. I guess my last one kind of doesn't count because we were a bit unsure when they were legal on Magic Online, so it was kind of not really a hot take because it didn't really actually count. It was basically the end of Pauper 1.0 or 2.0, whichever one you're calling it, is over. That basically Commander Masters will impact the Pauper format that much that it won't look like the metagame that we know, I don't think. And that still stands.
We'll see this next week. Next week
I definitely think it will happen, and I was just out a week by the clear communications of when Commander Masters is legal on Magic Online. So I guess that leads us to the hot takes for next week.
Yeah. My constant hot take is still there. Swiftspear is still here. No one's banning him. He's gonna last to the end of the year, honest.
Yeah.
Despite crushing both challenges, he's fine. My actual hot take for next week is probably a pretty obvious one. But we're going to see a lot of new cards. Hopefully in top 8. Obviously, if they don't make the top 8, we'll probably cover them in our deep dive decks.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of new cards top 8, and if not new decks, new takes on existing decks.
Yeah.
Although I think, fingers crossed, that's a pretty obvious take.
Yeah, I think just a little bit expand on this while it kind of touches on my Pauper 1.0, 2.0. I think the thing about Commander Masters is it will either enable a lot of newer decks, but it'll also strengthen these existing decks potentially in completely different ways that we haven't seen before to basically just completely impact and change the format. So you might, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all these decks that we're talking about now are not going to exist because there's a new meta.
Definitely not.
They're either going to be absolutely strengthened to the point where they are incredibly powerful, like Affinity to the point of previous years with all that glitters. And then you've also got Cryptic Serpent to impact Blue-Black Terror or even Blue X Terror to be an incredibly powerful deck. And then you've also got other great cards, which kind of goes on to my next take as well.
Yeah.
So my next one is a bit out there, but I'm hoping. I think Storm or One Land Spy will be in the top 32 of one of the challenges.
They've been saying it's good for combo at the moment.
That is my take. Because Gutter Snipe becomes legal, which is a good card for obviously you need less spells to combo kill people with Storm. Wind Rider Wizard seems to be the surprise card that lets you cycle through your Storm deck. Seems also great. And Dread Return, Lockless Giant, also great for One Land Spy. And there's also some weird other wacky engine that I've seen people messing about with One Land Spy as well, which kind of retrievers stuff back, and yeah, I got lost, but basically Dread Return makes it have this really cool engine, and you can kind of kill people a lot easier than you could previously. So
I don't mind the take, to be honest. I think it might take a few weeks.
I agree.
I'm not 100% sold that it'll be next week, but I definitely think the engine or both engines have got a big upgrade coming.
Yeah. I think my big thing, if I say an existing deck is going to do X next week, it doesn't happen. If I say some wild, wacky deck is going to happen next week, it doesn't happen, but does 2 weeks later. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, Troll, Exhume, in both top 8s. It's not like I called that 2 weeks ago. But ayo, what can I say?
But I like that take. I don't know if it'll happen next week, but I think it will happen soon.
Yes, I agree.
My last take, I guess, is sort of similar to my first one. Basically, the Bruin space will open up more than it is currently. We obviously discussed with the above green-black deck that you sort of focused around a core. I sort of think with these new Masters cards, they might create their own core that you can then brew around as well, like with the Wizard and Gutter Snipe. You maybe don't have to go Storm. You can maybe just go like sort of a mid-range, remember a Mystic blue-red ping deck or something along those lines. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see next week.
Yeah, I do think these cards are powerful enough to like not just brush off. They can easily either probably fit into an existing core, like you say, or probably create their own. Like a lot of these effects haven't existed in Pauper before at all.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think as well, with it being so close to the Lord of the Rings release, there's a lot of Lord of the Rings cards that I know me and yourself have pulled aside and thought, well, this could be something at some point in Pauper, that it maybe just doesn't have the slot at the moment. But these even more new cards being poured on top, might bring something out of there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I guess my last take is probably another out there one, you know. I think this week we'll have a new combo deck in the top 8. And I don't really know what I'm going to say about that or what I mean by that. Because it might have existed many years ago, but in my logic of we have not seen this combo is
in a while.
Like I'm talking things of the past, you know, like what was it called? Like the Dojo kind of talked on the forums, that sort of like combo deck. Oh, what about these cards? But then like Dread Return or Lockless Giant or Wind Rider Wizards just created it like this new kind of. So it's kind of similar, obviously, to yours with the Bruin space, but I do think a new combo deck someone's going to break Summer, and it's going to be in the top 8, and it's going to happen next week because they've already had it in the back pocket ready.
So we're having Storm and/or One Land Spy in the top 32 and a brand new combo deck in the top 8.
There we go.
I like it. It's bold.
Well, go big or go home. So, guys, I think that kind of wraps it up for the episode. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends, your local pauper community, your mother, your father, anyone at all. It'd just be great, obviously. Just get word of mouth out there, show about the episode. We obviously have had a big influx of new viewers, which is obviously fantastic to see. That obviously the hard work and effort that mainly Reese puts in is doing well. I just turn up and smile. So But yeah, it's doing really well, and I really appreciate the help that obviously you guys have put in. And if you just obviously keep up sharing this amazing episode, if I do say so myself, and it'd be just great to see it grow. That's all I can say. And that is all from us at Casting Commons. Until next time, don't forget to stay hydrated.
Bye.